third graders, happy Friday! Yesterday we wrote our rough drafts, and today we're going to work on revising them. We're going to focus specifically on the start and finish of our paragraphs. Follow along while I read an informational report about Mount Everest. Pay special attention to how the author starts and finishes each paragraph. Mount Everest. White powdery snow covers countless peaks. They seem to extend on forever in the small country of Nepal. Many of these majestic peaks seem to reach up to the sky at almost 5 miles high in the air. One of these mountains, Mount Everest, is the highest in the world at 29,035 feet tall. This mountain is a well-known mountain with about 1,000 people attempting to climb it each year. Location. Mount Everest is part of a 1,500-mile-long mountain range called the Himalayas. The Himalayas consist of thousands of snow-capped peaks, with a majority of them stretching higher than 18,000 feet tall. Mount Everest is specifically located on the border between Tibet and Nepal. Some of the highest mountains in the world can be found near Mount Everest. Weather. The climate of Mount Everest is very extreme. In January, the average high on the mountain's peak is right around negative 33 degrees Fahrenheit. However, the average high in July is a little higher, at around negative 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Monsoon season on the mountain usually falls between June and September. During the monsoon, there are many intense snowstorms that can blow snow and ice off the top of the mountain. This can cause serious problems for tourists and hikers. With such extreme temperatures, it is amazing that people come to Mount Everest at all. Hiking. Who would be interested in climbing a mountain this chilly and colossal? In 2016, there were 641 climbers that made it to the summit or peak of Mount Everest. Unfortunately, not every person who attempts to climb the mountain succeeds. Last year, there were also 5 deaths on the mountain. This is not a friendly mountain to climb. In fact, it has its major challenges for the experienced hiker. The biggest challenge is altitude sickness. Basically, the higher you get, the less oxygen there is to breathe. The next biggest challenge is the bitter cold. With the icy temperatures mentioned above, it makes for a very rough climb. If these challenges don't stop a climber, the price might. It costs at least $30,000 to climb this enormous mountain. Clearly, only serious hikers will ever climb this peak. Mount Everest is not just amazing in size, but is also a huge accomplishment for the many who have succeeded in the difficult challenge of climbing to its top. There is no arguing whether seeing this natural wonder from the bottom or the top. It is truly extraordinary. So let's look at the first sentence in each of the subtopic paragraphs. Mount Everest is part of a 1,500-mile-long mountain range called the Himalayas. So this is called our topic sentence. It's telling me what this paragraph is going to be about. It's a 1,500 long mountain range called the Himalayas, and Mount Everest is a part of it. So it's talking about where this mountain is, and it's sharing an interesting fact so that I'm going to want to keep reading. Just like when we write our introductions and we use interesting facts to hook our reader in, we can use them in our paragraphs as well. The climate of Mount Everest is very extreme. So this is our next topic sentence, and it lets us know that this paragraph is talking about the climate. It also gives us a little tidbit that it's very extreme, which again is making the reader want to find out what is so extreme about the climate of Mount Everest. And then our next paragraph has a topic sentence. Who would be interested in climbing a mountain this chilly and colossal? This time they used a question for the topic sentence, which again makes the reader want to keep reading because they're going to want to find out who would want to climb this kind of mountain. They're also going back to reference kind of the weather when they talk about it being chilly, and then colossal going back up to this first paragraph and how big it is. So they're kind of pulling from these to get that final topic sentence. Now let's look at the last sentence of each paragraph. This is called the concluding sentence, and it kind of wraps up the paragraph. It's a little summary, a reminder of the important information that the paragraph shared. So in our first paragraph, some of the highest mountains in the world can be found near Mount Everest. So they're kind of concluding that information about its location. Just like our conclusion of our paper wraps up the whole paper, a concluding sentence wraps up that paragraph. Our second concluding sentence: with such extreme temperatures, it is amazing that people come to Mount Everest at all. So they've been talking about the climate and how extreme it is, and then they're just kind of wrapping it up. And then our last paragraph about hiking, our concluding sentence: clearly only serious hikers will ever climb this peak, because they've talked about how extreme the hiking is, and so again, they are wrapping that paragraph up. When you wrote your draft yesterday, you may have done what I did. Just write down the facts on your sticky notes in order. So now we want to go back and add topic and concluding sentences to each paragraph. Just like we did with our personal narratives, when revising, I like to have Post-its or strips of paper with me that I can use in case I don't have space on my rough draft. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my writing and see what I need to do with my topic and concluding sentences. So I'm going to look at my first main paragraph about Cleopatra's childhood, and it starts out: Cleopatra was born in Alexandria, Egypt in 69 BC, which could be an okay topic sentence. It would let people know that we're starting at the beginning of her life, but I want people to know that this paragraph is just about her childhood, so I can revise my topic sentence to make it a little bit more exciting and do a better job of letting the reader know what this paragraph is about. Okay, so I added a new topic sentence: a child of royalty, Cleopatra had an unusual upbringing. I think this does a better job of letting the reader know that my paragraph is going to be about her childhood, like her upbringing, and by telling them that it's unusual, it is going to make the reader want to read this paragraph to find out why. And then I didn't have space on here, so I wrote it on a Post-it note, and I'm just going to put a little star on this Post-it note, and I'm going to put it at the beginning of this paragraph. So I'm going to put a star here, and then stick my Post-it to my rough draft. So now I'm going to look at my concluding sentence, and I have right now: Cleopatra had to fight her brother for control, which doesn't really wrap up this paragraph about her childhood, so I'm going to add a concluding sentence as well. So I wrote for my concluding sentence: Cleopatra may have been a child, but she was already making adult decisions, because taking over control from her brother is definitely an adult decision. Still mentions that this was her childhood, and it also kind of leads into my next paragraph about her being queen. So again, like I did with the star here, I'm going to put a little shape, put that same shape on my paper where I want this sentence to go, and stick it on. Now I'm just going to take some time. I'm going to look through my next two paragraphs and check and see if I like my topic and concluding sentence, and if not, I'm going to just add them in. Now you try. Go over your rough draft. Add topic and concluding sentences to your paragraph as needed. Then put your work someplace safe. and I'll see y'all Monday.